If you had the ability to travel back in time to any point in human history, where would you go?
I can only choose one.
Yeah, just one.
Maybe the crucifixion of Jesus Christ.
Ooh. Just to find out if it really happened?
Hmm.
What if it didn't? Would you tell anybody?
That'd be in big trouble.
Yeah. I think I would choose ancient Egypt.
What do you want to see?
I want to see the construction of the pyramids.
Huh.
I want to see why.
Hmm.
I want to see what was civilization like back then. I want to see what's the real timeline. Like, what are we really looking at? Are we really looking at 2,500 BC? Or are we looking at 10,000, 20,000 BC? Like, what are we looking at? They don't really know. It's a lot of guesswork, especially when you're dealing with, you can't carbon date stone. But just knowing the construction, the expertise that was involved, it appears the use of some sort of a drill. There was like some things that cored stone, some things that cut stone. They have no understanding of how these people were able to do this. Just the scope, just the scale of the construction, the massive stones, the obelisks, these enormous things that were cut from quarries hundreds of miles away and somehow or another transported and assembled into this thing that we wouldn't be able to do today, no matter what anybody tells you. Certainly wouldn't be able to do in a human lifetime. 2,300,000 stones, some weighing upwards of 50 to 80 tons, hundreds of miles away, carted through the mountains, no clear roads. How do you get them down? What are you doing? How'd you get them? What'd you do? That's, to me, the big one.
Have you spent time there?
No. No, we were supposed to do both in this one trip.
That's
but
too
I said
much.
it's too much. Yeah, you have young kids. You don't want to fucking freak out. Oh, can I go home and see my friends? You don't want to drag kids away for too long. But I think it was important for them to see the ruins. To see Delos and to see all these other different places and to just just see a place where people used to live and thrive and then they didn't. And now you're walking around these areas but to me, Egypt, it's because it's so above and beyond everything else that exists in terms of just the scale of the construction. What did they do? When you see the Great Pyramid of Giza, it's just like, what did they do? How did they do this? Who? Why? What was the purpose? There's been all the speculation that at one point in time there was a burial chamber for a pharaoh, but there's no evidence of that. So what is it? And why? And how?
Put it on the agenda for next summer.
Yeah, and even then you're just going to be walking around freaking out. Which I think is great. But I would, if there was a place that you could go back in time and see one thing, that would be the thing that I would see.
There was a recent study on a psychedelic potion out of Egypt for the first time. Remember we talked about some of the first unambiguous evidence for psychedelics in rock art and this Mississippian site. I think it was earlier this year, actually. Jamie, if you want to look up, this is a great Google term, psychedelic blood cocktail. Psychedelic blood cocktail and maybe Egypt. There it is.
They drank a gnarly brew of hallucinogenic drugs and human blood. Whoa. The drink also contained a few secret ingredients like vaginal mucus. How do you know that? Look at that dude. That looks like the kind of guy you'd see if you drank blood and psychedelics.
That's Bess. B-E-S.
That seems like the dude.
Bess was the giver of oracles and dreams, and it was thought that you would consume this beverage and go into an incubation at his temple.
Wow.
Which was not too different from Greek incubation temples.
Look at this. He was described as part dwarfish, part feline.
Yeah.
Whoa. Best followers believed he could provide protection from danger while simultaneously averting harm and being able with his powers to prevent evil. So like all cults, Best heads were required to drink some gnarly stuff rather than the classic poisoned Kool-Aid, though. The members of this sect guzzled a mysterious liquid from ceramic vessels decorated with the effigy of the head of Bess, known as Bess vases. The best figure was revered as a protective genius. It might be assumed that this liquid drunk from these mugs might be considered beneficent. Interesting. So what do they find that's in these things?
Well, so it came from Tampa, which is crazy. Like there wasn't, I mean, at some point it was in Egypt, but they had this vessel sitting around.
In Tampa, Florida?
In Tampa, Florida.
Oh, whoa.
From the 2nd century BC, which is why the science is so interesting. These can be vessels that sit in museums for decades, and they still preserve these compounds. So they did liquid chromatography, tandem mass spec, this chemical analysis, and what they found a number of different things. The mucus was because they did proteomics as well. They did a human protein analysis, and they found something that was either mucus or other human body fluids. That's why they call it the psychedelic blood cocktail.
Why do they think it was vaginal mucus?
Because that's one of the possibilities is either oral or vaginal mucus. I'm not sure.
Why would they go with vaginal?
Because it's a good headline.
But it seems like spit would be more likely.
I would say spit.
It seems like
I'm going to say spit and blood. Yeah.
Getting the vaginal mucus seemed like that's like a big ordeal. But was there any indication of why they chose the vaginal? Why they would even say?
Not that I know of. Beyond the proteomic analysis.
Because that seems like
I know.
it's a weird leap.